Chapter 8 Quiet Tension 3 weeks. It had been more than 3 weeks since that night. Since the heat, the rut, the blur of bodies and whispered names in a primitive room where everything felt too raw to be forgotten. And yet, here they were, sitting across from each other every day in an office where glass walls reflected only professionalism. Theong in his immaculate suits, commanding with every word. Jungkook by his side, notebook always open, pen always ready, posture always stiff. The silence between them carried more weight than any words. Every accidental brush of fingers when Jungkook handed over documents made his breath hit every time Theong leaned closer to explain something. The faint trace of his scent, rich, grounding, made Jungkook's stomach twist. He told himself it was fine, that he could ignore it, that what happened was just heat, rut, biology, nothing more. But his heart betrayed him every time their eyes lingered too long. The symptoms. The first time Jungkook felt something off, it was a wave of nausea that hit him in the middle of typing up a schedule. He pressed his lips together, breathing shallowing, blaming the coffee he had earlier. Mr. Jungkook, Theong's deep voice broke the moment. Jungkook looked up quickly, forcing a smile. Yes, sir. Theong's bro frowned slightly. You look pale. Are you okay? I'm fine. Jungkook lied, ducking his head. Just didn't sleep well. He went back to work, ignoring the way his stomach cursed again. A few days later, he found himself eating things that didn't make sense together. He laughed it off, thinking maybe his body was just stressed. Then came the exhaustion. His limbs felt heavy by mid-afternoon, his eyelids dropping. He splashed water on his face in the restroom, shaking his head at his reflection. It's just bad food or stress, nothing more. Pregnancy never crossed his mind, not once. The tension. One evening they worked late together in the office. Papers were scattered across Theong's desk and Jungkook leaned over to help organize them. His sleeve brushed Theong's arm and both froze for a second, longer than they should have. Theong cleared his throat, his voice quieter than usual. You are doing well here. Jungkook blinked, surprised by the sudden compliment. His cheeks warmed. Thank you, Mr. Kim. Their eyes met, his soft, unsure. Theong's deep, unreadable. The air thickened and for a terrifying moment, but a knock on the door broke the moment. Another symptom. The next morning, Jungkook barely made it out of bed. His stomach cursed violently and he rushed to the bathroom, retching until his eyes watered. He stared at his reflection, pale and trembling. Must have been the takeouts last night, he whispered. But even as he convinced himself, deep down something gnawed at him, a suspicion he refused to entertain. At the office, Theong noticed Jungkook's faint winch as he lowered into the chair. He noticed the way the Omega pressed a hand to his stomach, absent-mindedly. He noticed everything, and though he asked Jungkook, "Are you okay? You look pale," but Jungkook's same nonchalant answer made Tae a little worried for him. Chapter 9 The Slip of Truth. The day started normally enough, with the usual hum of keyboards and the murmurs of phone ringing across the office, but Jungkook already knew something was off. His body felt heavier, weaker. The mild nausea he had been ignoring these past few days has worsened overnight, leaving him groggy and pale. He gripped his pen tighter, focusing on the schedule he was typing for Theong. The black letters blurred for a second, and he blinked rapidly. His head spun. Mr. Jeon. Theong's voice came deep and firm from across the desk. Jungkook looked up too quickly. The word tilted. His vision swaying, he stumbled forward. Before he could steady himself, in an instant, Theong was on his feet. Large hand gripped Jungkook's arm firmly, then waist, steadying him before he could collapse to the floor. Jungkook, the alpha's voice was sharper than usual, tinted with alarm. Jungkook's wide eyes met his for a split second, dark, worried, too close. His breath caught at the heat of Theong's hold, his steadying strength. I'm fine, Jungkook stamped, forcing himself upright, brushing away Theong's hand as if they burned. Just dizzy, probably skipped breakfast. Theong didn't look convinced, his jaw tight, eyes scanning Jungkook's face like he could read every lie written there. But Jungkook quickly ducked his head, picking up his pen again, hiding behind his notebook. Theong called someone immediately. Bring breakfast in my cabin. Make sure it's something healthy. Theong looked at JK, still working on some papers. He called again. Send Miss Choi in. Tai gave all JK's work to Miss Choi to complete, saying it's better if an experienced person will do that work, making JK sit freely on his desk. Soon Tai's papers arrived, but he passed it to JK, saying, you need some energy to work in here. The comment. It was during the break when the whisper came. Jungkook had stepped into the hallway to get a file from the cabinet when two colleagues passed by, chatting softly. Did you see Secretary Cheon lately? He looks sick all the time. Yeah, I'm just thinking, don't Omega usually look like that when they are, pregnant? The girl giggled lightly, almost careless. Jungkook froze. The words hit him like a strike to the chest. His breath stopped, heart hammering painfully. What are you saying? Another colleague quickly hushed her. That's his personal matter. Don't make careless guesses. Let's go. The two women walked away, their conversation fading, but Jungkook remained rooted in place, his hands trembling around the file. His entire body felt cold. Pregnant, that word echoed in his head like a curse. The witness. Slowly his eyes lifted and his blood drained colder. Theong was there, standing at the end of the hallway, file in hand, eyes wide, shock painted across a normally stoic face. He had heard it, every word. For a long, suffocating second, their gazes locked. Jungkook's lip parted, but no sound came out. His throat was dry, his body stiff, his chest heavy, like he would been caught in a storm. Theong wanted to say something, but he couldn't put it into words. Panic swallowed him whole. I need to finish the reports, he stamped suddenly, bowing his head quickly, clutching the file to his chest like a shield. He moved past Theong. To his chest like a shield. He moved past Theong in a blur, his footsteps uneven as he hurried back to the safety of his desk. Theong didn't stop him. He didn't say a word. He only stood there, frozen, heart pounding, too hard for his own liking. Pregnant, that word stayed with him, and for the first time since that night, Kim Theong didn't know what to do. Chapter 10. The walls close in. The pregnancy desk sat on the bathroom counter like a weapon. Jungkook stared at it with wide, trembling eyes, his hands clapped over his mouth to hold into the soul, threatening to break free. Two lines, bold, clear, unforgiving. No, he whispered shakingly, pressing his back to the cold wall. His whole body trembled. This couldn't be real, this couldn't be happening, and yet the symptom, the cravings, the sickness, it all makes sense now. He wasn't sick, he wasn't stressed. He was pregnant. Pregnant with Kim Theong's child, his mind spiraled, fear mixing with disbelief. What would he do? How could he face him now? So he didn't go to work the next day, or the one after that. He stayed curled up in bed, blinks closed, phone buzzing with unread messages from the offices. He couldn't face Theong. He couldn't face anyone. But as much as Jungkook was drowning into his panic, Theong was unraveling in his own way. Theong sighed. The first day Jungkook didn't show up. Theong assumed it was illness. The second day, irritation mixed with worry. Jungkook wasn't the type to neglect responsibilities. By the third day, Theong couldn't sit still. He replayed every symptom in his head. Pale skin, fatigue, dizziness, cravings. He had looked it up all. Every source screamed the same conclusion: pregnancy. And it And if that was true, then the child was his. Something primal settled in Theong's chest, a fierce protectiveness he couldn't shake. He couldn't ignore it anymore, so he went. At Jungkook's apartment, the knock on Jungkook's door startled him out of his daze. He shuffled to the door lazily, still in loose sweatpants and a crumpled t-shirt, hair messy, eyes tired. He swung it open without thinking and froze. Kim Theong stood there, tall, imposing, suit crisp as ever. His eyes were soft slightly at the sight of Jungkook's disheveled state, but his presence alone made Jungkook's heart slam against his ribs. Mr. Kim, Jungkook steamed, panic flooding in his veins. Hyung tilted his head faintly. Won't you let me in? Jungkook blinked, realizing he was just standing in the doorway blocking him. His mind scrambled. Yes, of course, please come in. He stepped aside quickly, letting Theong's expensive clock and quiet authority fill the small space of his home. Jungkook fled straight to the kitchen, needing distance, needing to do something. He poured ice water shakily into a glass, his back turned, trying to control his breathing. When he returned, Theong was seated on the small couch, but his eyes never left Jungkook. His gaze was heavy, too heavy. As he took the water, he placed it gently on the table, untouched. And then he stood, slowly. Deliberately, he started walking toward Jungkook. Jungkook's pulse spiked. He instinctively stepped back. Theong advanced again. Jungkook retreated until his back hit the cold wall. His chest rose and fell quickly, panic clearing in his eyes. Theong stopped right in front of him, close enough that Jungkook could feel that heat of presence, close enough to smell the faint trace of his alpha's scent beneath the cloak. His voice was low, steady, but edged with something raw. Is it true what those employees said? Jungkook's lips parted, but no sound came out. His throat tightened and he gripped the hem of his shirt. Nervously, I don't understand what you are saying, Mr. Kim. Jungkook whispered, his voice trembling, but Theong's eyes, sharp, searching, almost desperate, didn't leave his face. To be continued.